Imagine you're standing at the border, looking out over two vast lands of opportunity. On your right, you have the US, known for its secure markets and diverse investment opportunities. And on your left, you have Canada, surrounded by gorgeous landscapes, and apologies for bumping into people even though you're the one that bumped into them. But when it comes to investing, what we should be focusing on most is where is it easiest to create wealth? Where can I make money? And as an investor who's bought and sold over 150 properties all in Canada and now hanging out with a lot of big boy investors, I'm noticing a common theme among these savvy investors. Like, why are they packing up their bags, closing up their businesses, and heading south of the border? Is it the allure of the American dream, or is it something else? Stick around, because in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why so many big Canadian real estate investors are leaving and going to the US. So grab your passports, list your properties for sale, and let's dive into why maybe you should be parking your profits in the good old land of opportunity that is America. And as always, if you like my daily videos and you appreciate what I put out every single day, smash that subscribe button. It totally helps the channel. Let's get into it. And just one thing to note, if you're sick of investing in Canada and dealing with all the crap like I am and want to see all of the opportunities, check out my course in the description. It shows you exactly how to buy real estate as a Canadian in America. Everything you need to know is in that course. Make sure you check it out. It is super cheap and all of your answers are there. So the number one reason by far why so many real estate investors, small and big, are leaving Canada is because of the tenant rules. Although we shouldn't even say rules, we should just call it a tenant playground, because they can do whatever they want, scream and freak out like a toddler, not pay their rent, not pay anything, smash the property, and totally get away with it, especially in provinces like Ontario and BC. Now, for the Alberta watchers on here who are saying, well, you can't do that kind of stuff in Alberta, come to invest in Alberta. Dude, it's Alberta. We'll talk a lot about in this video why it doesn't matter and you shouldn't invest in Alberta. My thoughts anyway. See, in Canada, the tenants can do whatever they want and there's almost no consequences. Like I said, they cannot pay rent for over a year in a lot of these provinces, get away with it completely, and have no repercussions to their credit rating, to anything tied to their name, so they can just do it again and again and again to the next landlord. And tenants are just becoming more savvy these days. With the rise of social media and the internet, obviously, in recent years, tenants are learning more and more about how much they can get away with, and they're all talking to each other. I mean, there's literally dozens and dozens of Facebook groups that I've come across teaching tenants exactly how to get away with pretty much murder when it comes to their rental properties. Not to mention that once a tenant does not pay rent, it takes almost a year to evict them because the landlord-tenant boards are understaffed, they're overswamped, and they just can't get to all the hearings. So things take months and months and months. Like I said, in Ontario, it's very common to take 8 to 10 to 12 months to get rid of one tenant who's not paying their rent and just shouldn't be there. Now, add on top of that a rental increase maximum for provinces like Ontario of 2.5% a year. That's a good year. Most of the time, it's around 1.5%. And when you got inflation, like we're seeing, upwards to, in reality, 5 to 10%, that 2.5% rental increase is nothing. Property taxes are getting more expensive, utilities are getting more expensive, but that rental increase just isn't keeping up, putting the investor in a more negative or reduced cash flow position. So when you're rewarded to hold properties over time, which is true when it comes to real estate investing with mortgage pay down and appreciation, that's all fine and dandy. But if your property's not cash flowing on the way to holding it to year 5, we got a problem. So in America, and specifically the states we're investing in, which are almost all red Republican states, this is not the issue. See, for example, in states like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, if a tenant doesn't pay rent, yeah, they're gone in about 60 days max. There's no games. There's no appeals. There's no, oh, but my dog died. My mom's going through something. I can't. And the judge goes, that's okay. I understand you're going through some stuff. Extend. Yeah, that doesn't happen, dude. After like 60 days, if you don't pay your rent, the sheriff's coming and dragging you out. Period. In states like Florida, if you want to increase your rent, because you've noticed over time, you've done your research that your property is at $1,500 a month, for example, and all of your neighbors and your friends around you are renting their property out for $2,100, you wake up one day and go, oh my God, I'm way under market value. How did this happen? You can just increase your rent to $2,100, to $2,300, to $2,500, whatever you want. Why? Capitalism. Capitalism is alive and well. If a tenant is willing to pay it, so be it. If the tenant is not willing to pay it, so be it. There's no government regulation saying how much rent has to be and how much you can increase it. It's open capitalism. Let the market be the market. Now, the best strategy for this, to getting rid of a bad tenant who maybe even pays rent on time, but you know they're breaking the property, they're being rough on it, they're just not taking care of it, and you want to get a new tenant in there. Let's say rent is $2,000 a month, right where it should be, but this tenant, you just want to get rid of them. You can raise the rent to $3,000 a month, to $5,000 a month, with the proper notice, of course. And if they can't pay it, they gots to go. What do you mean rent is $5,000 a month? I'm paying $2,000 a month. You can't just do that. Yes, I can. And if you can't pay it, I guess you gots to go in the next 60 days. See ya. That's how you get rid of bad tenants. In Ontario, in Canada, yeah, right. You got tenants breaking shit. Good luck getting them out. If they're paying their rent on time, good luck getting rid of a bad tenant. It's impossible. Not the case in America. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is financing and getting mortgages to buy properties. Obviously, the most important thing for us as real estate investors, we need financing. We're not buying all these properties all cash, especially if we want to buy 10, 20, 30, 100 properties and scale this thing. We need mortgages. Now, if you're a real estate investor in Canada, you know the struggle of this. Getting a mortgage from a Canadian bank is insane. And it might not be insane to you because it's just normal, but once you start coming to the US, you're going to realize how insane it is. They put you through the ringer. To get a mortgage as an investor especially, oh my God. You got to provide tax returns from the last 3-4 years, all of your credit card statements. You got to have a good GDS ratio and a TDS ratio. Your income has to align. And this is the problem for real estate investors who want to buy multiple properties, is you hit what's called the financing wall. See, you own 3, 4, 5 properties maybe, and you have a good income, but to the bank, you don't have a good enough income to carry all 5 properties, just in case, in the off chance, all 5 tenants didn't pay rent, which is totally possible in Ontario. But like, come on, whose income, if you're working a regular job, can truly support 5 properties? Let's say you make a really good income. You make $500,000 a year. You can't theoretically support 10 properties, 20 properties. So how do you get to that 30 properties, 40 properties, 100 properties? How can you possibly scale in Canada? Well, here's the thing. You really can't. Unless you do what I did, which is get partners, attract partnerships. They bring all the money. They get the mortgage in their name, which is all fine and dandy. But again, your partners are also going through the ringer and they gotta qualify. I mean, that's how I bought 150 properties, truly, with none of my own money. All my partners brought the money and they got the mortgage. But getting the mortgages with them was a major pain. So here's how financing works in America. We get what's called a DSCR, a debt service coverage ratio mortgage. And what that basically means is they're going to do an appraisal on the property when you make an offer, just like you would in Canada, but they're going to do a second appraisal on how much is this property going to rent. And if it's an Airbnb specifically in Florida, for example, they're going to look at comparable Airbnbs and say, how much will this property rent? And that's all they care about. Will the property carry itself and cash flow? If the mortgage payments are going to be $5,000 a month on this beach house in Florida, but the Airbnb average income for a house like this is $7,000 a month, you get the mortgage. No credit checks, no credit card statements. I don't care what you did in Canada. I don't care how much money you make. I don't want to see it. All you got to do is put 30% down and pass this rental appraisal to make sure the property is going to cash flow above and beyond the mortgage expenses. If that's the case, 30% down and the property cash flows, you get the mortgage as a Canadian. No credit checks, no income statements. I don't care. None of that RBC bullshit. I don't want to see nothing. That's all I want to see. And what's really interesting is that if you leave the money in an account for more than 60 days for most banks, they don't even care where it came from. See, in Canada, when you bring the down payment, you got to cross-reference and show them where the money came from for obvious reasons. In America, if it's sitting in an account for more than 60 days, they don't care where that money came from. That's amazing capitalism. Now, I'm not insinuating you should be using drug money, but in the sense of if you have partners who want to be lending on your deals or partnering with you, They can just transfer the money from account A to account B. And if you can prove that transaction, you can just do that one day before closing. But if for some reason you can't, just leave it in the account for more than 60 days and you're good to go. Next point I want to talk about is taxes. Taxes in Canada are absolutely insane. If you're filing personal income tax, you're paying 50 to 55% if you're in the top income bracket, which isn't hard to get as a savvy real estate investor, of about $275,000 a year, something like that. If you're making more than that a year, congratulations, you're getting fucked in the ass. You're losing half of your income. Now, obviously, we can do savvy things like set up a corporation like I do, where you only pay 15% income tax max. But if you want to take money from that corporation for your personal self to do whatever you want to do, you're getting taxed at 50%. See, in America, taxes are way less. And more importantly on that, there's other things we can do for taxes, such as depreciation, which you can do in Canada, but it's a lot better in America. And you can do what's called a 1031 exchange, which is amazing. I don't know why Canada doesn't do this, but in America, if you sell a rental property and you make $200,000, normally you got to pay tax on those proceeds. But if you buy another piece of real estate within a specific amount of time, usually 1 year after you sold that property, you don't pay taxes on any of that because you're stimulating the economy. You're buying more real estate and the government is rewarding you for doing such actions. In Canada, if you sell a property, you're getting taxed no matter what. But I'm buying another piece of real estate. I'm providing more housing. Doesn't matter. Pay me tax. That's Canada. Now, the next reason, stronger economy. I don't have to spend too much time on this, but it's pretty clear the American economy is way stronger than Canada. I mean, we can see that right now at the time of filming this video. Canada is shrinking and definitely in a recession. Our economy is not doing good at all. And America is actually slightly speeding up. Now, we know that's bullshit because we look at the live data and we do that on this channel all the time. But in comparison, it's night and day. The American economy is doing so much better than Canada, than the UK, than Germany, than France and Australia. Pretty much any G7 country right now, America is doing very well in this weird time of inflation and economic distress. They're a powerhouse. They have strong GDP. It's America. This is where everybody wants to be. All the top companies, everybody wants to be here. So why don't you want to be here as a real estate investor as well? Now, the next point is that it's also a great place to scale. Unlike Canada, like I said, if you have dreams of owning 10, 20, 30 real estate properties or more, good luck. It's almost impossible in Canada to do that. And if you do, you're pulling teeth, you're doing all these weird things, you're refinancing from here, putting this over here. It's a pain in the ass. In America, you can scale to unlimited. See, you don't get penalized for the amount of properties you own in America like you do in Canada, where they say you're actually a risk because you own 5 properties. You're actually way more of a risk than Joe Blow, who works at some factory and has 1 property, his primary residence. That's insane. We've proven that we're savvy investors. All of our properties cash flow. What do you mean I'm a risk? In America, you're rewarded. You can get unlimited mortgages as long as that DSCR mortgage keeps panning out. Like I said, on every deal, you can theoretically buy unlimited real estate. But this is the kicker, the last point of this video, which makes it so easy to invest in America over Canada, is that the information is public. See, in America, they believe in freedom and the Freedom of Information Act all the way. Now we have that in Canada as well. We can get records from court hearings and police officers, but it's really, really hard to get. In America, everything is open. We can see exactly who owns what property, and you don't need any titles to do this, by the way, like a realtor. See, in Canada, as a realtor, I can see on my back-end system who owns what property, etc. But you got to be a realtor to get that. In America, anybody can find that out. And even further, we can see who's 30 days late on their mortgage payment, 60 days late, 90 days late, who has liens on their property, who the mortgage is with, how much they owe left on the mortgage. We can see all of that data. Anybody can see that. So how easy do you think it is to buy flip properties at a discount, which is my whole model, when I can see exactly who's in financial distress, call them up, say, hey, I'm the biggest home buyer in Florida. I'm looking to buy more homes. Are you interested in selling? Actually, I'm about to lose my house in the next 30 days if I don't sell it. Wouldn't you say, I didn't know that? Here, I can help you. We literally do that all day long. We have 5 full-time cold callers who just bang lists all day long and call people just like that. It's absolutely amazing. This reason alone is a reason to not invest in Canada, let alone all of the other things I talked about when it comes to the Tenancy Act, the ease of financing, the rules and regulations around taxes. You gotta be kidding me. Dude, if you're still investing in Canada, you're nuts. Now, if you want to learn all about this and how to do it in great detail, check out my course below. It's a super cheap course for Canadians showing you how to invest in America. And all of your answers are going to be in that course. So check that out in the description. The course is there. And I will see you in the next video.